Are you eating keto, but still not losing weight? Still inflamed? Still tired? Still stuck? Here's what's really going on inside your body. Most people think keto is about cutting carbs, but metabolically, keto is about controlling insulin. And insulin is the hormone that decides whether you burn fat or store it. If insulin stays elevated even slightly, your body will not access stored fat efficiently. That's not a willpower problem. That's physiology. Now, here's the mistake I see all the time. People say they're eating low carb, but they're still triggering insulin with hidden carbs, protein overages, or inflammatory foods that keep cortisol elevated. Today, we're going to simplify this. I'm going to walk you through the only 10 truly zero-carb foods you need on keto. Foods that do not raise blood sugar, that keep insulin stable, and that support fat burning at the root level. Because this isn't about chasing ketones on a meter. It's about healing the liver, stabilizing hormones, reducing inflammation, and teaching your body how to burn fat again. When you understand which foods are truly metabolically neutral and why, keto becomes simple. And when keto becomes simple, results become predictable. Let's break this down like we're standing at a whiteboard together. Before we go deeper, tell me, does this introduction match the tone and direction you want for your channel? Before we go food by food, let's anchor this in physiology. Here are the 6 science-backed principles we're going to walk through today. Zero carb does not automatically mean zero insulin. Some foods contain no carbohydrates, but still stimulate insulin through protein signaling pathways like mTOR and incretins. Fat is hormonally quiet. Pure fats have minimal insulin response, making them powerful tools for metabolic repair when used strategically. Protein is essential, but dose matters. Excess protein can convert to glucose through gluconeogenesis when insulin resistance is present. Your liver determines your fat-burning capacity. If the liver is inflamed or fatty, ketone production suffers, regardless of carb intake. Cortisol can sabotage keto even at zero carbs. Stress hormones raise blood sugar internally, even if you eat perfectly. Food quality impacts inflammation and metabolic flexibility. Grass-fed, wild-caught, and pasture-raised foods affect omega ratios, mitochondrial function, and insulin sensitivity. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your metabolism like a hybrid car. Carbs are gasoline. Fat is the electric battery. Insulin is the switch that decides which system runs. Zero-carb foods help you flip that switch fully into fat-burning mode, but only if you choose the right ones and use them correctly. In the next sections, we're going to break down the 10 foods that are metabolically powerful, hormonally supportive, and simple enough to build your entire keto framework around. Now, let's start with the foundation. Let's start with the most misunderstood category on keto: pure animal fat. When I say zero carb, I mean truly zero. No glucose impact, no fiber conversion, no hidden sugars. And pure fats sit at the top of that list. We're talking about beef tallow, lamb fat, butter, ghee, and duck fat. Here's what's really going on inside your body when you eat pure fat. Fat has almost no direct insulin response. Multiple metabolic ward studies have shown that dietary fat alone produces a negligible rise in insulin compared to carbohydrates and even protein. That makes fat hormonally quiet. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine insulin as a storage manager in a warehouse. Every time carbs come in, the manager gets activated and starts directing storage. Protein activates him a little. But fat walks in quietly and doesn't ring the alarm. This is why pure fat can be such a powerful therapeutic tool, especially in early keto adaptation or in patients with severe insulin resistance. Now, does that mean drink butter in your coffee all day? No. Remember, keto is about accessing stored body fat, not just eating dietary fat. The goal is metabolic flexibility, but strategically using zero-carb fats can stabilize hunger hormones, reduce cravings during transition, lower insulin enough to unlock fat stores, support bile flow and liver detox pathways. And here's something important: choose quality. Grass-fed butter and tallow contain higher levels of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K2, along with a healthier omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. That directly impacts inflammation and mitochondrial function, which affects energy production. If you're new to keto, start simple. Cook your proteins in tallow or ghee. Add a tablespoon of butter to steamed vegetables. Avoid seed oils completely. They're inflammatory and metabolically disruptive. And if this is helping clarify keto at a deeper level, consider subscribing. I post content every day focused on root cause metabolic repair, not just symptom management. Now that we've covered hormonally quiet fats, let's talk about the most powerful zero-carb protein source and the biggest mistake people make with it. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful zero-carb foods on keto and one of the most misunderstood. Eggs. Eggs contain virtually zero carbohydrates, but metabolically, they are far more than just zero carb. Here's what's really going on inside your body. An egg is a perfectly packaged metabolic repair kit. The yolk contains choline, which directly supports liver function and helps export fat out of the liver. That matters because fatty liver is one of the root drivers of insulin resistance. What the research shows is that higher choline intake is associated with improved liver enzyme profiles and reduced hepatic fat accumulation. And if your liver works better, ketone production improves. Fat burning improves. Hormone balance improves. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your liver like the oil filter in your car. If it's clogged, the whole engine runs poorly. Choline is part of what helps keep that filter clean. Now here's the mistake. People eat egg whites only. The metabolic power is in the yolk. The yolk contains choline, fat-soluble vitamins, healthy fats, antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin. Cholesterol, which is the backbone of hormone production. Cholesterol is not the villain. It's the raw material for estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, and vitamin D. Now let's address insulin. Eggs do stimulate a mild insulin response because of their protein content. But in the context of keto, especially when paired with fat, they are metabolically safe and incredibly nutrient dense. If you're insulin resistant, here's a practical protocol. 2 to 4 whole eggs, cooked in butter or tallow, paired with a fatty meat, eaten within an 8-hour window. This combination lowers the glycemic load to near zero and keeps insulin stable. And if you're struggling with fatty liver, metabolic syndrome, or hormonal imbalances, eggs are not your enemy. They're part of the solution. Remember, fix the liver and the metabolism follows. Next, we need to talk about a zero-carb protein that can either accelerate fat loss or completely stall it, depending on how you use it. Now let's talk about red meat, specifically beef. Beef is zero carb. No glucose, no fiber conversion, no hidden sugars. But here's what's really going on inside your body when you eat it. Beef is dense in complete protein, iron, zinc, B vitamins, and creatine, nutrients that directly support mitochondrial function. And mitochondria are your fat-burning engines. If your mitochondria are weak, you don't burn fat efficiently, even if carbs are low. What the research shows is that adequate protein intake preserves lean muscle mass during weight loss. And muscle is a primary driver of insulin sensitivity. The more muscle you maintain, the better your body handles glucose, even internally produced glucose. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of muscle like a glucose sponge. The more sponge you have, the better you absorb and stabilize blood sugar. Lose muscle and blood sugar control worsens, even on keto. Now here's the mistake. Too much lean protein without enough fat. When protein intake significantly exceeds your body's needs, especially in someone who is insulin resistant, excess amino acids can convert into glucose through gluconeogenesis. That glucose can trigger insulin. This doesn't mean protein is bad. It means dosage matters. For most metabolically compromised adults, aim for 1.2-1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of ideal body weight. Pair protein with natural fats. Avoid ultra-lean cuts, if fat loss has stalled, and quality matters. Grass-fed beef has a more favorable omega-3 to omega-6 ratio and higher levels of conjugated linoleic acid, CLA, which has been studied for its potential role in improving body composition and reducing inflammation. If fat loss has stalled on keto, ask yourself, are you eating ribeye or are you eating skinless chicken breast 6 times a day? Red meat, used correctly, stabilizes hunger, preserves muscle, supports hormones, and helps maintain metabolic rate. This is not about avoiding protein. It's about respecting its hormonal impact. And if this breakdown is helping you see keto through a more scientific lens, make sure you're subscribed. I teach this at the root cause level every day. Now let's talk about another zero-carb food that most people underuse, and it may be one of the most powerful for healing the liver and supporting longevity. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful and most avoided zero-carb foods on keto, organ meats, especially liver. Yes, liver. Here's what's really going on inside your body. If your metabolism is broken, your liver is involved. Fatty liver is present in the majority of people with insulin resistance, even if their labs look normal. And when the liver is congested with fat, it struggles to regulate glucose, produce ketones, and balance cholesterol. Now here's the interesting part. Liver, the food, contains the very nutrients required to repair liver, the organ. It is one of the richest sources of vitamin A, retinol, not beta-carotene, B12, folate, iron, copper, choline. These nutrients are essential for methylation, detoxification, red blood cell production, and mitochondrial energy output. What the research shows is that deficiencies in choline and B vitamins are strongly associated with fatty liver progression and impaired lipid metabolism. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine trying to fix a factory without giving the workers the tools they need. That's what happens when someone tries to heal their metabolism but avoids nutrient-dense foods. Liver is the toolbox, and here's the key. It's zero carb. It does contain protein, so yes, it stimulates some insulin, but its nutrient density far outweighs that effect when used properly. Protocol suggestion: 2+4 ounces of liver once or twice per week, or desiccated liver capsules if taste is a barrier. Pair with dietary fat to blunt insulin response if energy is low, if hair is thinning, if iron is borderline, if weight loss has stalled. Before you blame keto, ask whether you're undernourished. Keto done poorly is restrictive. Keto done correctly is nutrient-dense. If this is helpful, take a moment to like the video. It helps more people learn how to fix the root cause instead of chasing symptoms. Next, we need to talk about seafood and why certain zero-carb options can dramatically reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. Now let's talk about seafood, specifically fatty fish. Not all zero-carb foods are equal when it comes to inflammation, and inflammation directly affects insulin sensitivity. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When omega-6 fats dominate your diet, especially from seed oils, they drive inflammatory signaling. That inflammation interferes with insulin receptors. When insulin receptors don't respond properly, your pancreas produces more insulin. More insulin means less fat burning. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, and anchovies contain EPA and DHA, long-chain omega-3 fatty acids that directly counterbalance inflammatory pathways. What the research shows is that higher omega-3 intake improves insulin sensitivity, reduces triglycerides, and lowers systemic inflammation markers like CRP. Lower inflammation equals better metabolic flexibility. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your cells are doors with locks. Insulin is the key. Inflammation gums up the lock. Omega-3 fats help clean the lock so the key works properly again. And here's the important part. Fatty fish are zero carb, no glucose spike, minimal insulin stimulation compared to lean protein, and they deliver anti-inflammatory power that supports long-term metabolic repair. Protocol suggestion: 3 to 4 servings of fatty fish per week. Prioritize wild caught when possible. Rotate varieties to reduce heavy metal exposure. If you don't eat fish, consider a high-quality omega-3 supplement. Now, a caution. Not all seafood is metabolically equal. Breaded fish, farm-raised fish fed inflammatory grains, or seafood cooked in seed oils can negate the benefit. Remember, food quality determines hormone response. If your keto diet includes red meat but ignores omega-3 balance, you may reduce carbs but still remain inflamed. And inflammation is one of the hidden reasons people stall on keto. We're building metabolic resilience, not just lowering carbs. Next, we need to talk about something that surprises people, a zero-carb food that doesn't come from muscle, and maybe one of the most powerful tools for gut repair and recovery. Now let's talk about something most people overlook on keto, but it may be one of the most therapeutic zero-carb tools you can use: bone broth. This isn't trendy health food hype. This is physiology. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When someone has insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, or autoimmune issues, the gut lining is often compromised. Increased intestinal permeability, what people casually call leaky gut, allows inflammatory molecules into circulation. That inflammation increases cortisol, and elevated cortisol raises blood sugar internally. You can eat zero carbs and still have elevated glucose if cortisol is high. Bone broth contains collagen, gelatin, glycine, and proline, amino acids that support gut lining integrity and connective tissue repair. What the research shows is that glycine plays a role in reducing oxidative stress and improving metabolic health markers. It also supports phase 2 liver detoxification pathways, which matter when we're mobilizing stored fat. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your gut lining like the grout between tiles. When it cracks, water seeps underneath and causes damage. Bone broth provides some of the raw materials to help seal those cracks. And yes, properly prepared bone broth is zero carb, minimal insulin stimulation, highly supportive for recovery, especially powerful during fasting windows. Here's a simple protocol: 1 to 2 cups of bone broth during a fasting window. Add sea salt for adrenal support. Use it to transition into longer fasting periods. Make it from grass-fed bones when possible. This is especially helpful if you experience keto flu, fatigue during fasting, joint discomfort, poor sleep. Because remember, keto isn't just about macronutrients, it's about rebuilding systems. You can lower carbs and still feel terrible if you're not repairing the gut and liver at the same time. Now, we've covered fats, eggs, red meat, organ meats, seafood, and bone broth. But there's one more category we need to address. And this one is critical because people assume it's safe, yet it quietly keeps insulin elevated. Let's talk about processed zero-carb foods and what you must avoid if you truly want metabolic repair. Now we need to talk about something that sabotages more keto journeys than carbohydrates ever did. Processed zero-carb foods, sausages with fillers, deli meats with dextrose, bacon cured with sugar, protein isolates, artificial sweeteners labeled zero. On paper, they look compliant. On a glucose monitor, they sometimes look fine. But hormonally, that's where the problem begins. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Even without carbohydrates, certain additives can stimulate insulin through incretin pathways in the gut. Artificial sweeteners, for example, can trigger a cephalic phase insulin response, meaning your body releases insulin simply because it detects sweetness, no sugar required. What the research shows is that non-nutritive sweeteners may alter gut microbiota and impair glucose tolerance in susceptible individuals. That means you can drink zero-carb soda and still worsen insulin sensitivity over time. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine you ring the doorbell, sweet taste, but no guest arrives, no glucose. Your body still prepares the house, releases insulin. Do that often enough, and the system becomes confused and dysregulated. Now layer on top of that inflammatory seed oils, preservatives, hidden starches, flavor enhancers that increase cravings. Suddenly, you're not eating therapeutic keto anymore. You're eating processed, low-carb convenience food. If fat loss has stalled, here's a powerful reset protocol. For 14 days, eat only whole cuts of meat, eggs, organ meats, seafood, pure animal fats, bone broth, no sweeteners, no packaged keto snacks, no powders, just whole, zero-carb foods. This eliminates hidden insulin triggers and reduces inflammation dramatically. Keto works best when it is simple, not engineered, not flavored, not modified, just real food. Because remember, we are not trying to hack ketones. We are trying to restore metabolic health at the root. Now, let's bring this together and make it practical for long-term fat burning, hormone balance, and longevity. Let's bring this back to the root cause. Keto is not about chasing ketone numbers. It's not about avoiding bread while living on processed, low-carb snacks. And it's definitely not about starving yourself. It's about controlling insulin consistently and intelligently. Today, we covered the only zero-carb foods you truly need. Pure animal fats to keep insulin quiet, eggs to support the liver and hormones, red meat to preserve muscle and metabolic rate, organ meats to repair nutrient deficiencies at the root, fatty fish to reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity, bone broth to support gut integrity and recovery. And we expose the hidden danger of processed zero-carb foods that quietly sabotage progress. Here's what's really happening inside your body when you do this correctly. Insulin stabilizes, the liver unloads fat, mitochondria become more efficient, inflammation decreases, hormones rebalance, and when those systems improve, fat loss becomes a side effect, energy improves, mental clarity sharpens, cravings diminish, sleep deepens. That's metabolic repair. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 14 days, simplify. Build your meals from these foundational zero-carb foods. Remove processed keto products. Track how your energy, hunger, and mental clarity respond. Don't just watch your weight. Watch your biology shift. Because when you fix the root, the symptoms follow. If this added value to your health journey, like the video and subscribe. Join a community that is serious about optimizing metabolism naturally, using science, not shortcuts. I'll see you in the next lesson.